Yes, I can. Thanks. My goodness, yes. Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid. Yeah, it looked like that's what it was going to be. Yeah. And I guess it's a knee. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry. Yikes. Well, I hope it turns out better than expected. Let's see. Anthony Del Toro, foam foot 420. Hector Gomez. Yeah, I don't know when the rain's going to stop. See what my app says. I don't have a poll question yet. I'm open. Might have something to do with today's June 1st, so NFL teams can spread out the salary cap space. So maybe we ask if Aaron Rodgers or Julio Jones will switch teams this week. Either or both. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Let's see. According to my app, the rain in San Antonio will stop it in the 8 o'clock hour or in the 7 o'clock hour. 50% in the 7 o'clock hour. And then it kicks in again at 5 o'clock tonight with 30%. So, and then rain throughout the night, the late night. Totally agree about the penalty there, Tracy. Here we come. Welcome back from a 3-day weekend, back from a Memorial Day weekend. And we hope that you and your family enjoyed the Memorial Day weekend and took some time to reflect upon the meaning of Memorial Day. Welcome in on a Tuesday, a Taco Tuesday, June 1st. It's the Chris Duel Show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon, we have killed 5 months of 2021 already. I'm one more month and we're at the midway point of this year. That's crazy.
You feel good about that? You feel like the year's going well so far?
It's flying by. I'll tell you that. I mean, it feels like March to me, and it's June 1st. It was so weird in 2020. All we wanted to do was get to 2021, and now we're here, and it's flying by. I mean, in general, I think it's going well. How about you?
I feel like, after a team has a really rough year, and then afterwards, it's the rebuilding year. You have to have this time in between before you can, be back to greatness or that elite level that you are supposedly used to or your fan base thinks you should be at. So I feel like this is a rebuilding year, and you're right. It's going by quickly, and I'm happy about it.
A rebuilding year for all of us. Yeah. And lots going on in the world of sports. We are all over it. And, Shannon, as I look at the calendar and see June 1st, I had heard this date throughout much of, the winter and into the spring because, all the Aaron Rodgers talk, all the NFL free agency talk. And what I heard a lot with regard to Aaron Rodgers, as you did as well, was, nothing's going to happen till June 1st because the salary cap hit, if the Packers moved him, would be significantly greater before June 1st. Apparently, now that it is June 1st, NFL teams can spread out salary cap hits. So it's going to be very interesting. You've got Aaron Rodgers out there, disgruntled, apparently, wants to move. Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons wants to be gone. So those are at least two big names that theoretically, if the Packers, even though they haven't said it, if in their closed door meetings have said, you know what, let's just move on. This guy's bad news. We're not going to satisfy him. We tried. So my point is, we might see movement for both of these guys this week, Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones.
I would love some movement. I would love for the NFL to be back in the forefront, because as much as they don't have an off season, when a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's in the midst of all of this, will he, won't he with the Packers, and then he just decides, I'm just going to go to Hawaii and vacation with some 20-somethings and completely disregard my career for weeks. I need him to come back to the mainland and get things settled so that I can move forward with
yes.
so that I can be okay with things.
And of course, the television networks, we've talked about this. I think there's at least 5 not prime time, but national, some in prime time, national games, nationally televised games involving the Packers. So, you want closure, you want movement on Aaron Rodgers. The NFL would like resolution, and they want him to stay in Green Bay, I'm sure, with all those TV schedules. Plus, and I've heard so many analysts say, Aaron Rodgers' best move to get to a Super Bowl is stay in Green Bay. So we'll see how adamant he is to get out the door.
Yeah, I don't like the whole, it's the girlfriend, it's the fiance vibe, but it's certainly seeming more and more like that, as he's seemed very out of character just in the last year.
It is amazing what a significant other will do when they come into your life, what they can do. So let's just set the table here. If you want to join us, a lot of people already joining us on Facebook Live. I see Clint Proctor, Jesse Bratton, Anthony Del Toro, Rudy, Tracy Bogert, Jason Paniagua. Welcome in. We stream live video on Ticket 760 and AM 1300, the Zone's Facebook pages. There's a YouTube link into that video. We're on Twitch. We are all over the place. And you can find portals as well on Twitter at Ticket 760 and at AM 1300, the Zone, where, Shannon, I am delinquent. Don't have a poll question yet, but it might involve Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones. We'll figure that one out at the bottom of the hour. Do you have a poll question in mind, Shannon?
I like where you're going with that, especially because there's that theory out there that, to make Aaron happy, maybe Green Bay goes and gets a Julio Jones.
Ooh, that one dude solves both issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great. All right. We'll have to work that into 4 options, one of which is Julio Jones goes to the Green Bay Packers. I mean, if you're the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers he was the MVP, each of the last 2 years, or at least last year played it at the MVP level, took you to the NFC Championship game each of the last 2 years. And the Cowboys found this out the hard way. Every team finds this out. Having a Super Bowl caliber quarterback is such a rare thing. And maybe the Packers, because they had Brett Favre before Aaron Rodgers, maybe they think this is an easy proposition. Even if you've got Aaron Rodgers in his prime for 2 more years, I think you do your best to satisfy him, keep a good thing going, try to get to the Super Bowl. And whenever his skills diminish, or he steps aside, or he rides off into the sunset, then you deal with it. It's so rare to have an Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. I think the Packers should move heaven and earth to try to keep this guy if possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we talked about how different Aaron has been this offseason, just kind of being out there more than he ever has, especially with that Jeopardy run. We now know he's going to face off with Bryson DeChambeau against Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson. So he's in the news more regularly than he usually is, and it just so happens that he's got this beef with his team. So I think he has the cards in his hands at this point, because he is the one that's out there and making face, and he gets to set the narrative. So I think you're right. I think the Packers need to do whatever they can to make this guy happy.
Lots to talk about in the world of sports. So much that happened over the 3-day Memorial Day weekend. We will get to it. Of course, you've got Naomi Osaka withdrawing from the French Open. We'll get into that. Injuries may shape the NBA playoffs, and things that we thought were foregone conclusions, such as Lakers will make a deep run. Well, maybe not. Anthony Davis with a knee injury. In fact, tonight it's a huge game in that Lakers series. That's going to be your late game on TNT. Lakers at Phoenix. That series tied 2-2. And you got a couple of 2-2 battles going on tonight, Shannon. Not only that Lakers Phoenix series, but Portland at Denver tonight. That series is at 2-2. And, as you know, whoever wins game 5 gets to play with house money in game 6. You lose game 5, you're down 3-2. You're going to have to win 2 in a row. You'll face 2 elimination games if you're the loser of game 5. So a big night tonight for the Lakers and Phoenix. And same deal in Denver as the Nuggets host the Portland Trailblazers. Your early game, Boston at Brooklyn. Brooklyn's up 3-1 in that series. Not expecting a whole lot there. But in addition to Anthony Davis nursing an injury, and I don't have an official word on him for tonight, Shannon, but I don't think he's expected to play in that game at Phoenix tonight. And then you've got Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers injuring his knee. And while the Sixers are up 3-1 in that series, Washington did win last night, 122-114 over Philadelphia. Triple-double for Russell Westbrook. He had 19, 21, and 14. But if Joel Embiid goes out, maybe not this series. It's hard for anybody to come back from 3-1, much less it was 3-0. But if they lose him for an extended part of these playoffs or for the rest of the playoffs, the Philadelphia 76ers are in big trouble.
Yeah, we should get word today. I believe he's going in for scans this morning to figure out just how bad that injury is. But you're totally right. This first round has been incredible, from storylines from all angles, from fans in the stands to fans not in the stands to the players on the court and off the court. I mean, we give so much crap to the NBA for the product they put on the court throughout the regular season. Games that matter, games that don't matter, players sitting, players deciding to play here or there. And then the kind of the 50-50 split on people's thoughts of those playing games. So I don't think anyone was thinking that the first round would be much to look at here. They would probably went ahead and wrote off a couple of teams, yet here we are. So many series tied back up. Unfortunately, my Mavs over the weekend just decided to, I don't know, quit or something.
Gosh, at home.
Yeah, at home. You finally got tons of fans in the stands. I don't know where the fix is why you asked me prior to the weekend. I was like, I don't know that I feel that confident to go ahead and say we have the 2-0 lead to go ahead and take this one, because you just never know with a guy like Kawhi and PG on the other side how things are going to go. And then this Lakers Sun series has turned out to be really interesting. I mean, we thought when Chris Paul got injured in that first game that it was going to be the same old story we've always seen. Chris Paul gets hurt and his team goes out with him. But he apparently begged Monty Williams to allow him to play in game 4, and then he showed up, scored 18 points, and brought that series back to a tie.
Yeah.
And now with the other side with AD, you're totally right. These injuries are changing the landscape of the playoffs, and we're only in round 1.
And, back to your Mavericks for a moment, Mavericks take the first 2 games on the road at Staples Center. They come back home with the 2-0 lead. Conventional wisdom says you're at least going to win one of those 2 games at home. You're at least going to split in your house to take a 3-1 lead in that series, which is a commanding lead, obviously, in an NBA series. And you're right. It almost looked as if the Mavericks quit. The Clippers came in, I believe, won both of those games by double digits in Dallas. And, now 2-2, Clippers take back home court advantage. It sounded like such a daunting task when the Clippers were down 2-0, because we knew they had to win 4 out of 5, and they had to win 2 out of the 3 games that were going to be on the Mavericks' home floor. And boom, they did that immediately. They took those 2 games, and now we're at 2-2 in that series. So that comes down to a 2 out of 3, and advantage Clippers. Home court, 2 of the 3 games will be in LA.
Yeah, and people were writing off the Clippers. You had coaches and players. Oh, we'll show them. Like we're just getting into the swing of things. Like we'll be fine. We're good here. Down 0-2 in the first round of the playoffs. We're fine. People think you're ridiculous. You're going into Dallas. They have major home court advantage compared to what you were given in LA. They're playing great. Luka's unstoppable. The only thing that could fix this is if Kawhi Leonard plays lights out, Luka has a horrible game, and no one else shows up for the Mavericks. And what do you know? What do you know? So now we're all suffering together because I'm suffering.
I know. I was so happy when it was 2-0. I would love to see Kawhi bounced, but now it's not looking good. We'll also talk some baseball. The Houston Astros get a big win last night. They annihilated the Boston Red Sox 11-2 at Minute Maid Park in Houston. That's the Red Sox worst loss of the year by 9 runs. Kind of a mixed bag over the extended weekend for the Astros, Shannon. They Friday and Saturday night, they lose in extra innings to San Diego. Friday night, they lose 10-3 in 11 innings. That's right. They lost by 7 in 11 innings, which was insane. Saturday night, they lose again, this time in 12 innings to San Diego, 11-8. But the last 2 evenings, Sunday, they beat San Diego 7-4 as that series came to an end. And then last night, the Astros beat Boston 11-2. They've still got 3 games left in this series against Boston, all 3 of those closing out the homestand at Minute Maid Park. The Astros, though, now a half a game behind Oakland as we go into tonight's play in the AL West. And 284 runs. The Astros have scored the most runs in Major League Baseball. If they could just get some pitching with that run production, I think they'd be a force to be reckoned with against anybody in baseball.
It's so strange because you mentioned, they're only half a game behind. They've got all these runs that I shouldn't feel as kind of defeated and deflated as I do about them, because they just go on these stretches, right, where they just aren't getting it done when they should be, and then they turn around and they play a game like they did last night. I mean, I hadn't had the game on, and I walk into a restaurant and it's on, and I'm like 11-2. Am I seeing that right? The TV is kind of far away. I could be misreading that here. So in a time when I need to lean on them, I need them to be more consistent and get it together and play like they did last night against Boston.
Well, and there's a lot of games coming up against Boston. This is a 4-game homestand against Boston. Then they go to Toronto for a while later in the week, then at Fenway against Boston. There's just a ton of games coming up against the Red Sox. They're going to get to know each other real well. Lots more coming up. We will get you the poll question. You can join in on the phone lines at any time. You are always welcome. 800-707-9760, the phone number. Coming up, the high five play of the day. A little bit later, our friend Tanner Carlson. We'll talk some NFL football and some NBA hoops with him. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics and our golf guru, going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour as well. Our thanks to the boss man, Brian Gann, jumping in, making the show go this morning. Lots coming at you. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Lucinda, Joel Cologne, welcome. Louisa, John. I got to go tell Brian about the sound bed for high five. Hey, Shannon, can you hear me? Let me see if I can hear you. Let me see if I've got this. We need to email. You want to run audio for high five of that play, correct?
We don't have to.
Okay. Yeah, and that'll make it easier on him then if you don't want to run it. Okay, I told him we might email it to him. I'll tell him we won't run the audio on that. Cool. Lucinda Sullivan, if you're in here, happy birthday. A day late. I saw it was your birthday yesterday on Facebook. Thank you, Joel. I will look for it. Now, I leave here at 9-ish, but I will look for it tomorrow when I get in. That's very kind of you. I will give you my coffee review. Speaking of coffee, got a little going right now. Uh, 30 seconds or 1 minute, either one. If you want to go 60, that's fine. Yeah, but I'll hit that break. That is 6:54:10 is the hard out. Thank you. Little Badfinger. I'm a Badfinger fan. Produced by the Beatles on Apple Records. It is the Chris Duel Show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney on the 1st of June, a Taco Tuesday. I still can't get used to the 1st of June, but here we are. Lots going on in the world of sports, and the 1st of June will impact our poll question. We'll let you know what the poll question is here in just a little bit. In the meantime, if you want to jump in at any time on the phone lines, 800-707-9760 is the phone number. Anytime we don't have a guest, and we don't have a guest until the 8 o'clock hour, so anytime between now and 8 o'clock, you are always welcome to jump in on the phone lines, talk sports, whatever we're talking about, whatever's on your mind in the world of sports. You can also join us on Facebook Live. Lots of people joining us there via AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook pages. You can get in there also via YouTube, Twitch. We are all over the place. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we love doing this time every morning. Somebody deserves a high five in the world of sports. It is our high five play of the day. And Shannon, high five, not just the name of the segment, it is also a cool place to hang out in the Austin area.
Yes, and I hung out there with my family on Friday, which ended up being great because our power went out for almost 12 hours Friday night. But for the first part of that, we were hanging out at High Five out in Lakeway, played laser tag. They've got an incredible laser tag setup, probably the most running I've done, or not running, but like it was hot in there. It felt like I was running, but I had an incredible time. And you mentioned Tuesdays. Taco Tuesdays, $2 tacos, $2 domestic beers, and $2 rounds of laser tag out there at Lakeway High Five. So head over there. And today's High Five play of the game is brought to you by the NBA and that Wizards 76ers game last night. No, the story was not Joel Embiid going out with an injury that we don't know how long it'll keep him off the court. To shout out to a security guard who made an incredible move.
Mm.
You haven't heard the call from Kevin Harlan because, of course, Kevin Harlan was on the call when something like this happens, as he always seems to be. Because the great broadcaster he is brought you all the details of the fan running onto the court who was then tackled by the security guard. So our high five today is going out to that security guard who made the diving tackle. We still aren't sure why the fan was running on the court, what caused him to run on the court. It's not like he was streaking or anything, but he has been banned from the arena and future NBA games as well. A lot of fan stuff going on. I don't think we shout out the security guards enough. I think for the most part, they do their job and they're, just there not to really be in your way. They're there to keep people safe and particularly the players safe in this case. So shout out to that man for quite the tackle. I mean, is the NFL watching? I heard someone on that broadcast reference him going to the Washington football team, that they could use some more guys on that defensive side. But such strange things going on in the NBA right now with fans. It's great to know a guy like that is taking care of the players in the arena and facilities and the fans that are behaving appropriately during this time.
I can't imagine if that fan got onto the court. And I mean, he
was close.
He was very close. If that tackle doesn't happen, then presumably he runs at a player, and then that player in that instant has to decide, what am I going to do? Do I defend myself? Do I take this guy down? Do I hit this? I mean, it's you or him, and you've got a fan running at you on a court. I am amazed, Shannon, just the volume of fans behaving badly during these NBA playoffs. I don't know if something got into the water. I don't know if this is all pent up COVID lockdown frustration. It's absolutely crazy. Seemingly every NBA playoff game, there's something weird happening involving the fans.
Yeah, it's almost a trend now, right? Like, I'm going to be the one to do it this game, which isn't the way we should be thinking. And hopefully these fans that are committing these offenses don't ruin it for everyone else, and not even just in the NBA, but for other sports with spectators. And I think a security guard like this doing his job and taking care of business and putting his body on the line for it are the reasons why we shouldn't be too worried that there'll be any drastic changes, because they're still holding it down for the rest of us.
So the big high five to the security guard in Washington for the Washington Wizards. And what, just another thought, imagine if you're that security guard, you don't know if that guy has a weapon. I mean, you are the security guard, that's your job. And you see somebody hitting the court. There was probably no thought process. He's probably trained. If a fan runs onto the court, we take them down, we tackle them. But my God, I mean, you just do not know what that fan has planned. Does that fan have a weapon? And are you going to have to, disarm that fan, whether that weapon's a gun or a knife or whatever?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Or that fan probably thinking, he's got two locked and loaded on him at all times anyway, with those fistuses and those guns. Bench pressing.
There you go. So, all right, we do have a poll question up, Shannon. It has to do with June 1st. And again, we mentioned this earlier. This was the day we've heard about for months, especially when the Aaron Rodgers talk started firing up, was, well, nothing's going to happen until June 1st because it would cost the Green Bay Packers a lot more against the salary cap if they moved him before June 1st. After June 1st, which is now, NFL teams can spread out cap space. So theoretically, something could happen now to two of the biggest names that are disgruntled, and that would be Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones.
Yeah, so asking, now that it is June, NFL teams can take less of a cap hit for moving players. What happens to Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones? Our choices today, both traded, only Rodgers traded, only Jones traded, or Jones joins Rodgers in Green Bay. Currently, only Jones getting traded, 84% of the vote. The rest of the votes right now going to both of them being traded, which I think would be the most interesting of the outcomes.
Yeah, 0%. Nobody's saying only Rodgers. I mean, everybody knows Julio Jones. He says he's out. So nobody is saying Julio's staying in Atlanta and only Aaron Rodgers is going to be traded. I love the idea, Shannon. You brought it up. Green Bay gives an early Christmas gift and a peace offering to Aaron Rodgers. I think it's their best move. I think they go get Julio Jones, whatever you have to do to make that work, make that work. You are adding a weapon to Aaron Rodgers' arsenal. Clearly, that team can use a breakaway, game-breaking wide receiver. And then I think at the same time, you need to trade Jordan Love. You need to say, we screwed up. We made a mistake. We want to make this right with you. And here are two moves to make it right. Number one, here's Julio Jones. You've got a brand new breakaway, all-pro, Hall of Fame bound wide receiver. And yes, this is our way of saying we made a mistake with Jordan Love, drafting him at quarterback. We'll trade him away for anything, in the same way that the New England Patriots did that with Jimmy Garoppolo. And clearly, and that's another reason I've said, Shannon, so many quarterbacks look to Tom Brady now that he made the move to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the grass was greener on the other side of the fence, clearly, for Tom Brady. But in the same way, if you're Aaron Rodgers, when Tom Brady was a Patriot and the Patriots did him wrong in going after Jimmy Garoppolo, and it was clear to him that Bill Belichick's master plan was to go with Jimmy Garoppolo sooner than later at quarterback for the New England Patriots. Tom had to do it a little differently. He went to Robert Kraft, who had his back, and reportedly Robert Kraft, the Patriots owner, said, this guy's got to be moved. Let's move Jimmy Garoppolo for anything. Trade him for a bag of Doritos. I don't care. Turned out to be a second-round draft pick to the 49ers. Rodgers must be looking at that situation as well, saying, if you want to please me, if you want to prove to me that I'm your guy at quarterback, then you got to get rid of Jordan Love. And the precedent for that is the Patriots getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, and clearly the Packers aren't in love with Mr. Jordan Love, right? Because there would be less of a hysteria going on about Aaron Rodgers potentially leaving. I'm sitting here and we're talking about Julio Jones potentially going to, or maybe that Green Bay would be a great destination to keep Aaron Rodgers there. Is it hard to sell franchise players like that to come to a place like Green Bay? I know the stadium is historic and there's, Lambeau, whatever. But a guy like Julio Jones, who was from Alabama, played in Alabama, and then played in an indoor arena in Georgia his entire career so far. Do you want to go live there? Do you want to go play there? Do you want to have to deal with that weather there? I mean, you think of, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, who are these mega superstars, but they were taken there. They didn't choose, they've so far chosen to stay, or Brett Favre retires and does what he does a million times. But is that a destination? I think Patriots, you could maybe argue that they aren't necessarily the greatest destination as far as, having to deal with the guy like Kraft and Bill Belichick, but you had Tom Brady and you had a winning culture. And right now I think the idea in Green Bay is if you don't have Aaron Rodgers, then you're not winning.
That's a great point. But, and you mentioned winning culture, though. If they do have Aaron Rodgers, then, then dating all the way back to Brett Favre, you have had a winning culture there. Yes, it is Green Bay, Wisconsin. The weather is god awful, but that's almost part of, the lore and the attraction is just what Green Bay Packer football is. But you make a great point about Julio Jones. His entire career dating back to college, you mentioned Alabama, and then playing indoors in Atlanta for the Falcons. That would be a major. But see, it's not a choice for Julio Jones, correct? I mean, that would be a trade, wouldn't it? So that wouldn't be a free agency move on his part. That would be the Atlanta Falcons having to move him, correct?
Yeah, but then you get into the contract talks.
Yeah.
And, this is like the day for accountants in the NFL.
Yeah.
This is their time.
Well, and apparently Julio Jones has a $15 million guaranteed contract. So wherever he lands, and if indeed the Packers wanted to make this deal, you've got to be prepared to give this guy $15 million guaranteed. And Shannon, we've talked about it. Julio Jones is kind of injury prone.
Yeah.
You wonder, with advancing age, I think he's 32. You wonder, with advancing age, do you want to take on that contract? And do you are you worried about his injuries?
I mean, I don't even take him in fantasy anymore because of that turf toe. That has kept him out of so many games that I can't imagine putting a price tag with real money on that when I can't even commit to him in fantasy.
When you won't commit to him in fantasy football, it makes you
I mean,
wonder.
I'm just saying.
Somebody, is a team going to commit $15 million guaranteed to him? So going to be interesting. And I today, once we get into the workday, 9 o'clock and beyond, I'll be very interested in that. You wonder behind the scenes, have the Green Bay Packers already made a determination? We're moving on from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I've heard some people speculate that a deal with Denver already has been done. Some people think Aaron Rodgers is headed to the Denver Broncos, that, sometimes an agreement is reached before it's made official due to something like this June 1st deadline that was going to be able to save the Green Bay Packers some cap money, some salary cap money. So you wonder, and I wonder, in the case of Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones, might we see something quickly, as in today, once we get into the workday and people get into the office, just to do this? Because obviously, any team that wants to do this, don't you want to? If it's the Denver Broncos, if it's Denver, and you want Aaron Rodgers to be your guy, don't you want him in the fold as soon as possible? Because football season's coming and we're now in the month of June. Shouldn't we begin planning via OTAs and everything for the new quarterback? And if you're Green Bay and you're moving on from him, don't you need to begin the post Aaron Rodgers era sooner than later? Same thing for Julio Jones in Atlanta. You need to move him. He needs to get moved, and whatever team is going to wind up with him, wouldn't you rather do this deal on June 1st than on June 23rd?
Yeah, and I love that you say Denver for two reasons. One, we get Patrick Mahomes saying he would welcome Aaron Rodgers to the AFC West, which of course would pit them against each other 2 times a year, KC versus Denver. And Denver, also another team eligible for Hard Knocks this year. And wouldn't you love to see, after all this drama, a camera having to follow Aaron Rodgers around, whether he likes it or not, because it's part of the contract with the NFL for him and his new team. But then also, like, he's got such the ego. Is he then, if he goes to Denver, is he then compared to Peyton Manning the entire time?
It's a great question. And if you go to Denver, just like Peyton Manning, will always be compared to John Elway.
Yeah.
So, and Elway, 2 rings, Aaron Rodgers 1. Peyton Manning, 2 rings with 2 different teams, Aaron Rodgers 1. So, Aaron Rodgers, from a legacy standpoint, once you get the 1 ring, and Aaron Rodgers is guaranteed to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but I still think that there's once you've got that 1 ring and you look around the other universe of quarterbacks who have won 2, Roger won 2, Troy Aikman won 3. And I think Favre won 1, correct? So I think part of Aaron Rodgers, there's also to really say I'm better than Favre, you need the 2nd ring if you're Aaron Rodgers, I would think.
Yeah, especially because, you had Favre going to the Vikings and didn't win that ring there. So that would put him in that next level of NFL quarterbacks who would be going to the Hall of Fame. But I like the idea of Denver. I like it.
And the other thing that strikes me, if Aaron Rodgers went to Denver, again, who's another beneficiary of this is Tom Brady. Tom Brady's in the NFC, and in 1 year, 2 of the elite quarterbacks in the NFC would be gone. Drew Brees, who beat Brady twice in the regular season, and it looked like the Saints had the Buccaneers number until the playoffs, and then obviously the Bucs got that win on the road in New Orleans to close out Drew Brees' career. And then Aaron Rodgers goes to the AFC. The landscape of elite quarterbacks in the NFC drops by 2 if Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver. We will have lost Drew Brees in the NFC, and then Aaron Rodgers. And again, the guy who wins there, seemingly to me, would be Tom Brady. It's an easier path, if you ask me, to get back to the Super Bowl if Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers aren't there in the NFC. And he had to face both of them last year in the playoffs, and he beat them both.
True, but Dak is back this year in the NFC.
Yes.
All is right in the world, and he will be the MVP and the best player in the NFC, and just all things amazing that everyone should fear him.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, there's lots going on in the world of sports. I want to get into this story from the French Open, Shannon.
Yes.
Naomi Osaka, who chose not to talk to the media, who cited mental health issues. Now she is withdrawn. She was penalized by, I want to get it, was tennis, the governing body of tennis, just a little too hard on her. And what does this say? The way they're treating her and seeming to me forcing her to withdraw. I mean, if she wasn't going to play anyway, I don't think she would have shown up at the French Open. Now she withdraws. We will get into that. We will talk NBA playoffs. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Shannon's Salty Shakedown will bring you this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. You can dial us up at any time. You want to jump in with us on the phone lines, 800-707-9760. We are streaming live video on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone's Facebook pages. With you till 9. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris. You're listening to The Chris Duel Show. Joe Hernandez, good morning. Joe Hernandez, Joel Colon, Lucinda Sullivan, happy birthday. Luisa Alanis, John Williams from Dallas, Jason Paniagua, Tracy Bogert, Rudy Prevost. Rudy, good morning. Anthony Del Toro, Dave Emilio Castanuela, Jesse Bratton. I think I said Anthony Del Toro, Clint Proctor, Foam Foot 420, Hector Gomez. Welcome everybody on Facebook. Jason says, happy birthday to Sonny Melendrez yesterday. I did not know that. Happy birthday, Sonny Melendrez, a San Antonio broadcasting legend. Veronica Mars, hello there. Veronica writes, sports shouldn't be any more stressful than it already is. Maybe Naomi standing up for herself will start showing light on how the business side of sports affects the players. Hashtag Team Naomi. Amen. I hope you're right. I am going to heat up my coffee. Axel J. Miller from Denver. Wow, Axel says Aaron Rodgers needs to stay in the NFC. We got enough heat in the AFC West as it is. Now, even though he's in Denver, Axel is a Raiders fan. So he wants no part of Aaron Rodgers in Denver, which I can understand. All right, I'll be back in about 90 seconds. Raiders. Thank you, Veronica. Thanks for checking in. Axel says, but we will take Julio Jones. Wow, Julio Jones as a Raider. That's a thought. Steve DeRocco, good morning. The Rock. The original Rock. Hector, I did not wish a happy birthday to Sonny Melendrez. I did not realize yesterday was his birthday. Somebody just said that in here. He's a Facebook friend. I should have seen that on Facebook, but I did not. Whoops. Here we come.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a new month. It is a new day. It is a Taco Tuesday on this Tuesday, June 1st. Lots going on in the world of sports, and maybe a whole lot more going to happen as we begin this shortened week for many people. One of the biggest things to keep an eye on in the NFL is the fact that NFL teams can spread out their salary cap space beginning today, which could have implications for the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, for Julio Jones and the Atlanta Falcons. Those two guys in the news quite a bit lately as they have wanted out. So we'll talk NFL. We'll talk Major League Baseball. Astros win 2 in a row. They beat the Boston Red Sox big 11-2 last night. Couple of NBA playoff games last night. 3 more coming at us tonight. Shannon Salty Sweeney making the show go from the Austin end of things. I see on Facebook Live wearing your burnt orange Texas Longhorn warm-up. Very, very nice. You are in team colors, as often you are.
Yes, got to be with the Cowboys shirt underneath because NFL
Woo.
takes no days off.
Nice. So you're going Cowboys and Longhorns.
Neither do I. Yeah.
So on Facebook Live, I'm old school Astros. I've got an old school Astros logo with the Astrodome in the old school Astros logo.
As you should after
As I
last
should.
night's beat down
Yes.
of the Boston Red Sox.
And hopefully they and speaking of Boston, and I do want to get into the Naomi Osaka story with you in a bit. And what's interesting about that one, you've got all kinds of athletes, including Steph Curry, tweeting at her in the aftermath of her decision yesterday to withdraw from the French Open. But Kyrie Irving, we were talking about fans behaving badly. Apparently a fan threw a bottle at Kyrie Irving in Boston. Here, we're talking about fans, and Kyrie brings up Boston fans and racism, and we've heard stories about Boston fans for years. And just to welcome him back to Boston, a fan decides to throw a bottle at Kyrie Irving. Real good, Boston fans. You are continuing to live up to your reputation.
Listen, I get that Kyrie is kind of a guy where you either like him or you don't. There's not a lot of people who hold middle ground on him. But really?
Yeah.
You want beverages to be taken away from the rest of the fans too? Because that's where this is going. Once again, I mean, idiots everywhere.
Yes.
If they have a meeting before, they're like, listen, they're going to start letting us back in. We need to disperse. We need to spread out. We need to make sure we have a representative at each of these playoff games. And this is what we're going to do.
And crack the hell down. Any fan throwing any object at a player on the court, at another fan, you got to throw the book at him. And, what I think about is this, and you mentioned, Kyrie Irving, a former Boston Celtic, who said bad things about Boston, who obviously angered the Boston fans, one of whom angered enough to throw a bottle, which is stupid and criminal. I think about Kawhi Leonard, Shannon. I mean, I'm as vocally against Kawhi Leonard as pretty much any Spurs fan, but thank God when he returned to San Antonio, first with the Toronto Raptors and later with the LA Clippers, none of us threw a damn bottle at him. I mean, boo him. Yes. Rain your boos down upon him, but you do not have license to throw something at him. So I just think, I mean, Boston's fans already have a bad enough reputation. It just got worse over the weekend when the idiot threw the bottle.
Yeah.
I just thank God that nothing like that happened in San Antonio with regard to Kawhi Leonard.
It's only proving Kyrie's point prior to going to Boston,
True.
right? Like, thank you, sir. You've just proven, you threw that probably for me saying that, and then you just proved my point.
And you wonder, and we had this discussion last week before the weekend, Shannon. It's like, is this going to continue in the NBA? I mean, is this, are we going to crack down on this bad fan behavior, or is it going to continue? And we found out over the extended weekend, yep, it's going to continue. And it has.
Yeah. As far as I know, my Mavs fans did all right. I haven't heard anything crazy coming out of there, but it really feels like at this point we're heading to the NBA, considering maybe doing like an NHL with the glass. And obviously they have the glass because those players get thrown against the wall time and time again. It's just part of the game. But to have to do something like that to protect yourself from your quote unquote fans, it's ridiculous.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Meanwhile, a big story coming out of the French Open. We talked about it last week when we learned that Naomi Osaka, who is only 23 years old, she announced that she was not going to be talking to the media during the media availabilities. I think about this, Shannon. We've seen similar, we've seen other players not want to talk to the media. We saw notably Marshawn Lynch a number of years ago, wasn't talking to the media. Then they kind of forced him. And then he was very, one word answers and said, I'm only here because I have to be here. Well, over the weekend at the French Open, Naomi Osaka was fined for not speaking to the media, and they were threatening harsher sanctions against her. So yesterday she decided she was just going to withdraw. She's no longer playing in the French Open. She released a lengthy statement, among other things. She said she never wanted to be a distraction. She said the best thing for the tournament and other players is if she will withdraw, she's going to withdraw and take some time for herself. This evoked reaction from other athletes. 17-year-old American Coco Gauff tweeted, I admire your vulnerability. Stay strong. Martina Navratilova, legendary tennis player, 18-time Grand Slam champion, tweeted that she is so sad about Naomi Osaka, that it's terrible that she had to do this, that she had to withdraw. Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors tweeted at Naomi Osaka, quote, "You shouldn't ever have to make a decision like this, but so damn impressive taking the high road when the powers that be don't protect their own. Major respect." Shannon, did tennis, and in this case, the officials at the French Open, drop the ball here and make a major mistake by punishing Naomi Osaka to a level where she felt compelled to drop out?
I think they did. I think from the side of the media, we feel like we need these athletes to participate in what some may argue is part of the contract and part of the deal when you sign up for these sports. But you have to look at the angle that these athletes are in, and a lot of times these questions that they get asked instill doubt in these athletes, and then they go and they sit on them and think about them. They go off and they write their little piece, whatever. But these athletes have to deal with that time and time again. They not only do that, but in the age of social media, they take the heat there too. Tennis, she made this announcement prior to the start of the French Open, right? That she was going to forego any media availability and take the fines as they come. And so tennis had the time to say, you know what, that we understand, we're here for you, we understand your mental health, and we want to look out for you. Go ahead. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Instead, they fine her, and she's like, and then they threaten her to even kind of expel her from the tournament for her career. And so she decides that she's going to leave. And then they come out with a statement that says, "We're so sad that she's left, but we hope to see her again soon." What?
You forced her out.
You can't play both sides here.
No.
You're an advocate for the player, and if you're an advocate for the player, you have to on the court. You have to be an advocate for the player off the court. And all of this she said started kind of back in 2018, which for those that don't remember, that's when she took down Serena. And the talk around her at that time wasn't look how great she is, look, she's the up and coming star of tennis. It was, can she carry the weight of Serena? And then you had Serena fans that were upset with her because she was the one that knocked her down. And it just, the narrative around her has never really been about her and her great ability. It's always about her in contrast to someone else or what she's done. And then you get into, I believe she's both of Japanese and African American, and one side is like, oh, she's favoring this side over the other, or it's just she has had a really rough go at it, and having to hear about it constantly rather than what her play has been actually on the court, which has been spectacular. I mean, again, only 23 years old, and she's already a huge name in not only tennis but the world of sports. She has every right to say, no, I don't want to talk to the media today. Why would I, if I was only going to be trashed the entire time? That's not good for my mental health, no matter where I am in it. If I'm having a fantastic day, if I don't have any issues prior to, that's still not something anyone would put themselves up for.
And part of her statement, Naomi Osaka said, I am not a natural public speaker, and I get huge waves of anxiety before I speak to the world's media. I get really nervous and find it stressful to always try and engage and give the media the best answers I can. We as fans just assume, you're a great athlete, so, suck it up and talk to the media. We assume it's easy for you, or if it's not easy, get over it. And yet, unless you have this issue, unless you have this mental health issue, and some people, for some people, their greatest fear is public speaking. Mm-hmm. I mean, some people, when they're asked to give a speech in front of a company, in front of a group of people, in front of a classroom, they break into a cold sweat. They get nervous. They get heart palpitation. I mean, it happens. There are certain people who are affected this way. I think it was a huge opportunity for tennis to make a bold statement for advocating for mental health. There's on Apple Plus TV, Shannon, there's a brand new documentary series that's hosted by Oprah Winfrey and Prince Harry. It's called The Me You Can't See. And I just happened to begin watching it over the weekend. And what was fascinating about it is it interviews people, many of whom are very, very well known, like Prince Harry himself, talking about his mental health issues ever since his mom, Princess Diana, was killed. And he even talked about being a kid in cars with her every day of his life, constantly chased by the paparazzi. And it affected him as a kid even before his mom was killed. And then his mom wound up dead as a result of this harassment by the paparazzi. But in this documentary, it's people you've heard of, like Prince Harry. Lady Gaga talks about her mental health issues. I see even a preview. DeMar DeRozan of the Spurs. I didn't see his segment yet, but is going to be a part of a future episode. It's a big deal in a lot of people's lives. And as they point out in this documentary, we all know someone either in our immediate family or our circle of friends. If it's not us who has, mental health issues, then someone very close to you almost certainly does. This was an opportunity for tennis to really, really help in this situation. And I think they not only did they drop the ball, you forced a 23-year-old young star to leave the game, to leave the French Open. I really think it's a pox on, and it should be a moment for tennis to look at itself and say, we need to do better than this.
Yeah. And again, for I think it shines a light back on the NBA when you had Kyrie, who's time and time again kind of foregone and just taken the fine, and Kawhi Leonard as well, of reevaluating how they handle the questioning that is considered acceptable and not acceptable, and how many maybe media members they allow in at once. It may be less of okay, you have to do X amount of media interviews a year rather than doing this all the time because you are the superstar and you must be the face of the franchise, this, that, and the other. Because, as a media member, I get the benefit of obviously getting that questioning and getting that time with a player.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about the game at the end of the day and not all the other kind of, well, let's overlook and over-examine a guy's answer and the way that he answered something. And I think fans maybe feel obligated or like they deserve answers, right?
Yeah.
Because they're the ones paying and this, that, and the other. But what do you want that if a guy's just going to go in there and be a Marshawn Lynch kind of guy with the one word answer and not really giving you anything? I mean, then we're just wasting everybody's time.
True.
At that point. And I totally agree. Tennis messed up here. And we've got the Olympics coming up. I don't. Do they really do a lot of post game?
I think they do less than. Okay. I think they do less than say the NBA or the NFL. But obviously the Olympics, like every other major sports body, wants to market itself, and one of the best ways you market itself or you market yourself is by having your stars do interviews.
So if an athlete says no thanks, just take it. You don't know what's going on off the court. Just because they're a public figure does not mean the ins and outs of their entire life.
Well, and it's funny, I'm thinking what just struck me, Shannon, Tim Duncan in his speech, and we played portions of it a couple of weeks ago when he was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. One of the guys he cited in his speech was Tom James, and Tom James is like the media wrangler, the media coordinator for the San Antonio Spurs. He's the guy who mainly says, no, you can't interview Tim Duncan. And Tim cited the fact that he doesn't like doing interviews. And Tim even said before his speech, if you'll recall, that he was more nervous giving his acceptance speech into the Hall of Fame than before any NBA final. There are some people who just don't like to talk in public, and they may be like Tim Duncan, one of the greatest basketball players ever, or like Naomi Osaka, currently one of the best tennis players alive on earth right now at the age of 23 in her case. And I think we just need to accept and get over it. And there are some people who just love talking. Yes. There's some people who love a microphone. And if that's what you're into, be thankful for that. But especially, and she cited mental health issues. She was telegraphing it. She was telling us, I can't do this. I need to not do this. So people need to be more accepting of her for that. And in this case, tennis needs to be more accepting of her for this.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have our issues. I certainly have mine. I can't, we do this for 3 hours a day. I don't want to leave here and then go do that again with other people, right? Like I need my recharge time. I can't imagine playing a game like she does in front of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people at a time, win or lose, and then having to take the barrage of questioning that she does, just so then she can go home and see all the write-ups that have twisted her words one way or another. So for her sake, I hope she gets the peace of mind that she needs and that she's looking for, that there can be some sort of resolution between the governing bodies of tennis and, because especially tennis too, specifically, where you do have the men's sport and the women's sport who are pretty much on the same level as far as coverage. Go look at a men's presser and then go look at a women's presser. You would at the end of that, you would say, oh, I'd rather be on the men's side for that one.
Yeah.
Because that one's about tennis. Women's is about everything but tennis.
True. And I mean, you look at what strikes me as you say that, Shannon, Serena Williams, when she got all the grief she got from tennis for wearing the catsuit. Yeah. I mean, she wanted to dress the way she wanted to dress. She's a superstar, arguably the greatest player in tennis, men or women. And she got nothing but a load of crap for how she dressed. And then I do believe subsequently was prohibited from wearing that again.
Yeah, and I think wasn't it the French Open the first time she did?
I think it was. No. Yeah, I think it was. On Facebook Live, Veronica Mars writes, sports shouldn't be any more stressful than it already is. Maybe Naomi standing up for herself will start showing light on how the business side of sports affects the players. #Team Naomi. Agree. Come on, tennis. And again, she has an opportunity now as well. Not only should tennis embrace and affirm and help Naomi Osaka, but should she choose now, just like when DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love came out in the NBA and said, hey, I've got some mental health issues. And they even did a public service announcement via the NBA for people with mental health issues saying, hey, it's okay. You can seek help. And, here we are, superstar athletes, and we've got issues, and we're being open about it. I think more and more, just like the Oprah Winfrey documentary, the more that public figures who we know and we see in other avenues performing amazing feats, in the case of Naomi Osaka tennis, I think the fact that they allow other people to know that they're dealing with some mental health issues, I think that helps everybody else. I think anybody else who might have mental health issues are more open to getting some help for them when they see a high profile people saying, hey, I'm dealing with this. You can deal with this too.
Mm-hmm. Especially in the way we are right now with COVID and people kind of changing their work schedules, right, to better fit their life. They're still getting their work done, but they are able to either transform their hours or where they're deciding to work. For her to go into her place of business and say, hey, I'm dealing with mental health. I'm going to get my work done. I'm going to get the point I'm here for is to play tennis. And I'm going to get that done. But this stuff that's kind of optional. I'm going to decide not to do it. And they were like, no, that's not how it works here.
Bad look for tennis.
Somebody call HR.
Yeah. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. What is on Shannon's salty radar in the world of sports? This day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Just after 8 o'clock, we'll talk NFL football and NBA playoffs and free agency and Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones with Tanner Carlson, golf guru and the voice of UTSA athletics, Andy Everett, just after 8:35. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. I am Chris, the boss man, Brian Gann, making the show go this morning. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. I'll be right back. Gonna make sure Brian knows about the music beds in the next segment.
Good morning, Michelle. Thank you. I love it too. One of my go-to faves. Used to have a black one, but I wore it out.
Yeah, Jason Garcia, I was unaware of Spurs fans booing or taunting Kawhi Leonard's mother. I was unaware of that. If true, obviously that's awful and wrong.
56 years, sir. I finally made, after 56 years of waiting, my first stolen
Oh my gosh. Over the weekend?
one on Friday.
Congratulations. Wow.
56 years it took.
That is amazing. Wow. Were you with friends? I
I
mean,
was with a buddy of mine.
cool. You got a witness.
I got a witness. There you go.
Congratulations. That's great. David Munoz said after 56 years of golf, he made his first hole-in-one over the weekend. That is crazy. Okay, where is... Dave Ayler in here, working on the other side of the building. Hello, Dave, if you can hear me. Zach Greinke, Elliot, thank you for that. Zach Greinke of the Astros has bad anxiety when talking to the media, and I feel Houston media has taken care of him and respected his situation by not asking the hardball questions or pressing him harder for answers. Good for them, Elliot. Yeah, John, Dave Ayler was kidnapped by WOAI. I think he's back tomorrow and through the week, I think. Let me see if... Thank you. Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney, moments away from her salty shakedown. Lots going on in the world of sports on this June 1st, a Tuesday, a Taco Tuesday. We're talking NFL. We're talking NFL free agency. It is June 1st, which means NFL teams can now spread salary cap space around, meaning teams like the Green Bay Packers will take a little less of a salary cap hit today than they would have previously if they do deal an Aaron Rodgers. Same for the Atlanta Falcons, who will presumably deal Julio Jones to someone soon. We will talk NBA playoffs. There were 2 games last night, 3 NBA playoff games tonight. We'll walk you through those. We'll talk some baseball, Houston Astros. We just talked about Naomi Osaka withdrawing from the French Open. Coming up just after 8 o'clock, we'll talk NFL and NBA with Tanner Carlson in studio. Just after 8:30, golf guru and the voice of UTSA athletics, Andy Everett going to join us. And Shannon, a note in golf, David Munoz, who is a local radio guy in San Antonio, works in the building, just ducked his head into my studio during the break. And David Munoz said he has been golfing for 56 years. And over the weekend, for the first time in 56 years of golf, he hit a hole-in-one, which is so cool. Can you imagine? You've been trying to do that for 56 years. First of all, most people don't ever do it. But then to do it has got to be a feeling of euphoria. So a golf shout out. We'll have to ask Andy Everett if he's hit a hole-in-one when we get him on board.
I'm going to have to live up to my moniker here and say video or it didn't happen.
I did ask him. I said, were you with somebody? Do you have a witness? He said, yeah, I was with a friend. So there is but good point. Prove it.
Yeah.
We don't believe it. We think you're making that up, David.
I've hit a hole-in-one too.
Woo! Yeah.
There you go.
I've
You
had
know,
6. I've had 6 of them, David. That's nothing. Get
I
with
do
the
one a day. It's part of my morning routine.
Coming up, Shannon Salty Shakedown in a moment, sports birthdays. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this day in sports history, June 1st. June 1st, 1975, California Angels pitcher Nolan Ryan, that's my Nolan Ryan, Nolan Ryan records his record-equaling 4th Major League Baseball career no-hitter. He beat the Baltimore Orioles 1-0. It's a great day in Nolan Ryan history. On this day in 1993, Phoenix Suns guard Thunder Dan Marley set a then NBA playoff record by sinking 8 3-point shots during the Suns' 120-114 win over Seattle in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. 8 3-point shots, Shannon. Steph Curry does that in a quarter now? That was a big deal in 1993. On this day in 1994, Indiana Pacers guard Reggie Miller drills an NBA playoff record 5 3-pointers in the fourth quarter of the Pacers' 93-86 win over the New York Knicks in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. That was at Madison Square Garden, and Spike Lee was not happy. Finally, on this day in 1995, Texas Rangers pitcher Kenny Rogers. I love his music too. Kenny Rogers, his scoreless inning streak ended at 39 in a 6-3 win over the Minnesota Twins. Kenny Rogers, 39 straight scoreless innings for the Rangers back in 1995. That is this day in sports history. Shannon, have you ever heard of Kenny Rogers, the singer, or is that just so far before your time?
I think so.
Gray hair, big gray beard. Trust me.
Oh, yeah. You got to know when to hold him.
Yes, the
Wonderful.
gambler.
Dolly Parton.
Know
Dead,
when
right?
to walk away. Say what?
Dead?
No, I don't think he's dead. Ooh, if he's dead, I missed it. I'll have to Google that. Now you got me worried about Kenny Rogers. All right. That's this day in sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1933, American College Football Hall of Fame fullback. He won the Heisman in 1954 at the University of Wisconsin. Alan Amici, born on this day in 1933. He would play for the Baltimore Colts, go to the Pro Bowl 1955 to 58. He would win the NFL championship with the Colts in 58 and 59. Alan Amici was born in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He passed away in 1988. Born on this day in 1961, Canadian Hockey Hall of Fame defenseman Paul Coffey. Born on this day in 1961 in Weston, Ontario. 14-time NHL All-Star, won the Stanley Cup in 84, 85, and 87 with Edmonton, won the Stanley Cup in 91 with Pittsburgh. Paul Coffey, born on this day in 1961. And finally, born on this day in 1979, NFL wide receiver Santana Moss. Pro Bowler in 2005, played with the Jets and Washington. Santana Moss, born in Miami, Florida on this day in 1979. 3 celebrity birthdays of note. Alanis Morissette turns 47. Amy Schumer, the comedian, turns 40. Morgan Freeman, one of the greatest actors alive, turns 84. Those are your sports and celebrity birthdays for this June 1st And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, and farm animals. Farm animals love it as well. Here it is, your daily salty shakedown.
All right. Let's talk some NFL, sir.
Yes.
Well, let's talk some NFL around the world.
Woo!
As we know, for the past couple of years, the NFL has made its way to London town to play some games. Of course, last year, because of COVID, they did not make it. I believe Jacksonville with Tebow, if he should still be on the team, and
Oh, he'll
Mr.
be on the
Trevor
team.
Lawrence are one of the teams slated to play in London this year. And every now and again, they play in Mexico. I believe the last time around, though, however, the field conditions were not up to par, so they ended up playing at the Rams' home field, which at the time was the Coliseum. Well, now Germany is in the mix as a place the NFL would like to play regularly once a year, at least in future seasons, beginning at earliest the 2022 season or 2023. The fourth largest economy in the world, Germany has, and also apparently a huge NFL population of fans over there, as 2.2 million people tuned in to the last Super Bowl. They also apparently have an NFL Europe package. I don't know the time difference. I know it's probably like 6 or 7 hours. I don't know how early people are waking up to watch these late night NFL games or how late they're staying up to watch the midday games. That is some commitment. I don't know if I want more NFL games overseas on top of what we already have, just because that's less for us here. And my team going over there, we got to take into account the timing, right? How is that affecting their body? How does that fit into our schedule of play? So that's something rough to think about. They would attempt to do it at a stadium that holds 70,000 people. So it'd be great to see them fill that. I know London fans have loved it. However, those games are always really odd, right? Because it's kind of a crapshoot as far as what teams get to play overseas that year. And so you look in the stands, and instead, you usually see the team's colors, and it's usually like Cowboys t-shirts and jerseys, whether or not the Cowboys are playing. But the NFL in Germany, Chris, you here for it? Can we make it a trip? If it happens, let's just go. Let's be all in.
Well, see, and I remember there was a league called the World League of American Football that the NFL kind of endorsed, and it was like a spring developmental league in Europe, and the team in Germany was the Frankfurt Galaxy. So there's history. Yeah, London had a team called the London Monarchs in that league, but the Frankfurt Galaxy in Germany. So there's a little bit of a history already of American football in Germany. And as you mentioned, they love NFL football. They watch the Super Bowl. I'm all for it. And as weird as it is, those London games are, and you're right, it takes it out of our country, but to me, you get like a 9:30 in the. It's an extra football game on a Sunday. I get a 9:30 a.m. game, and being a football freak, I've always said it. More football is good football. Give me more football. So I think it's cool. But you're right. If your team, and our team is the Cowboys, has to go over, that's going to screw them up for the next week. As far as
we'll always blame it on the time difference.
Yes.
But I'm also now thinking about how they've extended the season, right? So you're now getting 17 games. So I guess that wouldn't be less games. It'd be the same amount of games that we're typically used to getting on our home turf in America. That maybe they go overseas for that 17th one. I don't know, but it should be interesting. I'd be surprised to see if they could fill that 70,000 seat stadium with apparently those 2.2 million people who ended up watching the most recent Super Bowl. All right, keeping it within the NFL, because this occurred to me over the long weekend. Usually around this time, we know the cover athlete for the next Madden game. Always a big topic, right? Because there's the Madden theory that the cover athlete usually suffers some sort of consequence. The last one that didn't suffer a consequence was Patrick Mahomes, but I think everyone agreed that Antonio Brown suffered enough consequences to last 2 years. So that's still very much in play. Now, they've kind of used different tactics before, right? Whether it's a Super Bowl champion, or most often it's an MVP, or maybe an upcoming player that they feel is ready to kind of take on the shine, usually a quarterback. We had Lamar Jackson. As we know, the reigning MVP of this year is Aaron Rodgers. They cannot go out and say, yes, Aaron Rodgers is our cover athlete. Here's what our cover looks like. Because the reveal, it's not only that they name the cover athlete, they reveal the cover at the same time. So you can't go out there and put Aaron Rodgers on the cover when we don't even know if Aaron Rodgers is going to stay in Green Bay. And I don't know if you get the same appeal of that game if it's Aaron Rodgers in a different uniform. So I wanted to get your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and other names that are in the running. Super Bowl winner Tom Brady in his
Ooh.
new uniform. He has been on the cover before, but of course that was in a Patriots uniform. And now that he's a Super Bowl champion in Tampa Bay, that could be interesting. Derrick Henry, who we all know, the Tennessee Titan running back, has kind of become has a signature move, basically giving everyone the Heisman in the NFL and knocking down anyone in his way. Josh Allen is also on this list. I guess you would consider him the up-and-coming quarterback. He's risen over the past couple of seasons, getting better and better statistically. Buffalo Bills, maybe not the biggest market, but he is making a splash, especially in that AFC East after Tom Brady made his exit. He's kind of the favorite of that division now. You've also got Walter Payton Man of the Year, Russell Wilson, in the conversation. He has never been on the cover, I believe, of
Ooh.
Madden. So he would be interesting, especially he's been really relevant throughout this COVID time, right? He's been a part of those kind of celebrity gatherings and shows where they've really been an advocate for getting vaccinated and things like that to go along with his Walter Payton Man of the Year award. I think that could be a great option as well. And finally, Aaron Donald, who, of course, for anyone who plays Madden knows that he is a member of the 99 Club. Now, the 99 Club, Chris, is held in high regard because
Yes.
very few athletes get into that club. It's a big honor. We always love the social media reactions to these athletes talking about their own ratings. But getting in the 99 Club is quite the honor. Very few athletes get it. He is a mainstay there. It'd also be interesting because obviously he is a defensive guy, and you don't see a lot of those guys as cover athletes. Of the list I just gave you, who is your vote for next year's Madden 22 cover athlete?
And the list you gave was Tom Brady, Derrick Henry, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Donald. Before I pick mine, Chris Gonzalez on Facebook Live, Shannon, says the cover athlete should be Tim Tebow.
No.
Tim Tebow.
No.
Go for it.
No.
If
where I say we've gone too far.
Yes. If I'm the Madden people and I want to sell more, Brady is just such a, I know Brady's been on the cover, but now that he's in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform, I personally, I'm a little biased because I like Brady now. I would choose Brady. Of those other guys, I can't believe Russell Wilson has never been on the cover before. I don't know that again, from a marketing standpoint, Buffalo, Josh Allen, does he sell you copies? I know Aaron Donald is deserving, and Derrick Henry is absolutely deserving, but I don't know if they sell you copies like Russell Wilson or Brady would.
Yeah. But once again, I just thought it was interesting because once again, Aaron Rodgers in his current situation, I mean, he's got a greater effect than I think we've even realized, not only on the league, but all of the pieces around the league that rely so heavily on knowing where players are going to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
So make up your mind, Aaron, and let's get to it. All right, finally, moving on to the Olympics, because the Olympics, they start in late July. Okay.
Yep.
But we already have the Australian national women's softball team in Japan. They actually arrived way early this morning.
My goodness.
They're already in Japan. They do not get to move to the Olympic Village until the 17th of July. All 20 players and 10 staff members who are there have all been vaccinated. They're all staying in Orta until they do get to move to the Olympic Village. But this has very Orlando bubble vibes, but even maybe worse, because in Orlando, the bubble included all of the hotel space, right? And all the outdoor space. This team and the staff is limited to one floor of the hotel they're staying in, where they will eat, sleep, work out, and have meetings. They will get to leave for training sessions only, in which they will play not only Japan's national team, but some of their collegiate level teams as well. And again, they've got to stay there for a month and 6 weeks.
That's crazy.
And that's before they get to the village, which will basically be another bubble-like environment. You talk about mental health. LeBron James is now getting criticized for his comments on Orlando, saying he has PTSD when he thinks about it. Hasn't taken his daughter to Disney World because the flashbacks of being in that bubble environment for as long as he was is a little stressful for him. These young ladies are there for 6 weeks before they even get to play in the Olympics. Is that too long, Chris?
I think so.
Why are they there that early?
That's crazy. It's June 1st. The Olympics, as you say, don't start until the end of July. They don't go to the Olympic Village until July 17th. I understand they are going to be playing some exhibitions, as you mentioned, in Japan, but that's just insane.
Mhm.
That's you're there almost 2 months early for the Olympics.
I don't know what kind of competitive edge they are thinking they're going to be getting out of this. I'm not sure now. Now, for those that aren't aware, softball coming back into the Olympics out after an absence, but the Australian team is pretty good. They've medaled in every competition in the Olympics that they've played in this sport. They never won gold because US of A kind of has that one covered, but they do take it seriously, seriously enough that the country is affording them and paying for them these 30 participants to be there this early. But oh my goodness, I was kind of going through their social medias this morning to see if they had any insight into their living situation. I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit later because, like I said, they just got there this morning, and they did get there to a ton of fanfare. I mean, there was media, there was governing body people that were there to greet them from the country of Japan. So the people that are all for the Olympics are very excited that it's kind of like the official start. It's happening. It's coming.
Do we have, and I know we talked about it last week, one of the IOC heads said canceling the Tokyo Olympics is off the table. That's not going to happen. But you still have doctors protesting in Tokyo. You've got citizens protesting. Are we 100% sure the Olympics are going? I mean, will this Australian team be disappointed if they pull the plug here? And now we're in June. I would imagine if you're going to pull the plug, you need to do it pretty quickly. I certainly hope they don't, because I want Greg Popovich to lead Team USA in basketball to the gold. But have you heard anything about it's done? It's a done deal. It's official. There's no going back now. We're going to do these Olympics.
I haven't, but seeing something like this leads me to believe where something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why you'd send them otherwise.
Yeah, and again, with the NBA playoffs going longer than usual this year, Team USA in basketball is going to be fascinating to see who who does and who doesn't, and who's still alive in the NBA finals and playing into July. Going to be fascinating to see who makes that team. Coming up, we'll talk NBA. We'll talk NBA playoffs. We'll talk more NFL. Tanner Carlson, our resident Dallas Cowboys NFL free agency guru. We'll talk some Cowboys with us coming up. Then just after 8:30, Andy Everett, resident golf guru. Has he ever hit a hole-in-one? Would he wait 56 years like our friend David Munoz just did? We'll talk to Andy Everett about golf and college sports. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. You can dial us up at 800-707-9760. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are with you until 9 on the Chris Duel Show. And thank you for the Kenny Rogers info. I forgot that he passed away. Now that you're saying that, now it's coming back to me. But in that moment, off the top of my head, I had forgotten that. That's too bad. He had quite the prolific career. In fact, there was somebody. It might have been Don Henley before the Eagles. Kenny Rogers helped somebody cut an album once, and they went on to have a huge career. I don't think it was Don Henley. It was somebody like Don Henley. Anyway, I'll have to figure that out. I need my tripod. Mr. Tanner Carlson. Welcome in Logan on Twitch. Joseph. Lucille and She Believes in Me were Lionel Richie songs. I didn't know that. Yeah, I had a few Kenny Rogers cassettes back in the day. Right around 1980, 1982, somewhere in there. I liked him. And he was a cool kind of a crossover artist. Both country and pop. What is happening? Yeah, I feel so bad for him. He's got so much he's got to do.
He's got so much more things to do.
Yeah. So anything on your radar? I was thinking we'd just go NFL June 1st. Their salary cap. NFL teams can spread the salary cap space. So Aaron Rodgers, Julio Jones more likely to go now.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely hit on the whole Julio Aaron Rodgers thing, and then things that we could kind of look for with the Cowboys doing with their cap.
Okay. Then we'll see if you have any explanation for why your Dallas Mavericks lost 2 home games to the Clippers. Did you watch those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't watch all of the 4th game, guys, because it was just I was done with it. I was over it.
Mm.
From the first quarter, I knew.
Wow.
It just was. It was one of those things where it was like, this isn't going to end well.
Yeah.
And especially with Luka not hitting free throws. Well, really, the whole team not hitting free throws. But Woj did have a nice tweet about Luka's health, saying that he has already seen major strides
Oh, good.
in his recovery. So
Hello, Carl Fisher, Gordon Weedman. That's it. Thank you, Shiloh. That's what I was thinking about, Gordon. So Kenny Rogers helped that album get launched. Christopher Summers, because the Clippers are a better team. We will see, Christopher.
I mean, if you're talking just top to bottom individual talent, then yes,
Yeah.
they are a better team. But I also don't think that they gel. I don't think that. I think the Kawhi Paul George experiment's going to be over after this.
I hope so. Well, and if you're Steve Ballmer paying all that money to Kawhi,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a leader.
No. I do think, because you know what people I think get confused with that Raptors team was Kawhi the best player? Obviously. I mean, he's a top 3 player when he's on the top of his game in the entire league, but it was Lowry who was the leader of that team. He was the guy that the team, rose to the occasion for. You know, it wasn't Kawhi's not the guy who's going to rah get his guys going,
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see what they're going to do with Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi is a big reason why they came back and won or tied the series up. Him and Paul George. So I mean, if they can get things going and make a run at it, sure. But I don't think they're a good team. I don't think they play team-oriented basketball. Then again, the West is pretty much wide open.
Sure looks that way. Yeah. And now with Anthony Davis banged up.
Is Shannon?
She's here. She's just not on the video screen right now for some reason. She's probably by the time she
I was just
by the time we
didn't
get
see
rolling.
her there.
Yeah, she sometimes goes away during the break.
Oh. I don't know why I'm just tired today.
It's hard.
Got no energy today.
Yeah, I'm the same thing. It's after the 3-day weekend. It's hard to get right back into the
motivated,
the grind.
Yeah.
Hello, Fonzie J. Rodriguez. Dodgers Yankees World Series. I hope not. I will take Dodgers Astros.
Yeah. What is the? I don't even know what baseball's looking. Who the best teams are this year?
Yankees are actually floundering. I think they've fallen something like 5 games back. Astros are a half a game out of the AL West. Here we come.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is Tuesday, a Taco Tuesday, and the first day of June, if you can believe that. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney on this June 1st. A little bit later in this hour, just after 8:30, golf guru Andy Everett. We'll talk a little golf with Andy. We'll talk a little college sports with Andy. Andy is also the voice of UTSA Athletics. But in studio now, we love talking football. We love talking NBA playoffs and all things sports with 1200 WOAI reporter, Dallas Cowboy freak, play-by-play dude for high school football and all kinds of sports. the beautiful and talented Tanner Carlson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Not that I need recovery, but the long weekend and then family being in town and you're off doing all these different things within that 3-day span, and you just kind of wear yourself out. So I'm just on the recovery end of things is all.
So you need a vacation from the 3-day weekend pretty much to recover.
Sure. Yeah, but not like an alcoholic recovery. It wasn't like I was binge drinking all weekend. It's more of like I'm just exhausted from all the things that we did. And then when family comes in Friday and they don't leave till it was Monday morning.
Oh my goodness.
And you're in a 2-bedroom apartment. Things get a little cramped.
Yes.
Get a little stir crazy. So
I can imagine. We will get into it here in a moment, but I do have to just bring it up out of the gate. Your Dallas Mavericks and Shannon's Dallas Mavericks disappointed me over the weekend.
Yep.
They started the weekend.
Me too.
Yes, it was 2-0 Mavericks with 2 home games. You're going to win at least one of those, right? And wrong. They lose 2 home. The series now 2-2, moves back to LA. Clippers now have home court advantage once again, which makes me sad.
Well, I guess in this series, it's not that bad of a thing, for the Clippers having home court advantage because the away team has won every game. So technically the Mavs kind of have the advantage still moving forward. If you look at it, I'm trying to think of any way possible to be positive about this series going forward. Woj, he dropped a bomb saying that Luka's health is on the up and up. He seems to be on the he's through the worst part of his injury. So hopefully his offense can kind of, be more of a factor. And game 4, he looked the worst I've ever seen Luka play. And I know it was the injury, and I know what a great ballsy effort that he had on the court. Good job for, the gutsy performance that he put on, but it wasn't effective. And typically what bothered me most was the surrounding cast didn't step up in the moment when the team needed them to step up. There was no Porzingis, there was no Tim Hardaway, there were none of these extra guys that whenever your best player is out there giving a gutsy performance, that typically lifts the rest of the team up.
Yeah.
I didn't see that spark. I didn't see that inspiration. I didn't see that fire from the other guys when Luka's over there giving it his all, and he's playing on one shoulder. So I think that's what bothered me more than anything. It wasn't just the bad play, the bad offense, and the bad defense. It was just they played uninspired. You're game 4 trying to go up 3-1 instead of having the series tied at 2-2, and there was no inspiration, there was no fire, there was no grit other than Luka. So that I think bothered me more than anything else.
Yeah, you mentioned Luka Doncic being banged up, injuries really starting to play a role in these NBA playoffs. You've got Anthony Davis of the Lakers nursing an injury. Joel Embiid last night injured his knee in a bad spill. So we'll keep an eye on the injuries in the NBA. Let's bounce to the NFL now. We love talking NFL football with you. June 1st was a day that we've heard of throughout the offseason, especially when people were talking about Aaron Rodgers, because now that it's June 1st, NFL teams can spread out their salary cap space. So if the Packers choose to move Aaron Rodgers, trade him, same deal goes for the Atlanta Falcons and Julio Jones. The cap hit on those teams won't be as bad now that it's June 1st than it would have been before. And it is our poll question today. Tanner, what do you think happens to Julio Jones? What do you think happens to Aaron Rodgers now that it's June 1st?
I don't think this will happen, but I have my own scenario in my head to keep Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and then move Julio Jones. But why not just 2 birds, 1 stone? You send Jordan Love over to Atlanta. You send a couple of first-round picks along with him for Julio, and it's just a straight-up Julio, Jordan Love, and then maybe another first rounder. And you get rid of the Jordan Love scenario as a backup, and you just say, look, sorry, Rodgers, we screwed that one up. Get rid of that trash. And then you go and get him another weapon on offense, which is what he's been clamoring for years and years and years. And you kind of, just 2 birds, 1 stone thing. I don't know if I don't know either team's cap situation. I don't know if that's realistically possible for the Packers to be able to pay for Julio, but if Aaron Rodgers is your only guy that you're actually paying any money to, then I don't see how he wouldn't be able to fit into the cap scenario. And it's June 1st, so you can kind of maybe rearrange some things around with other guys that you might be paying a little higher market value for than you would like to. And you can kind of, restructure their deals, bring Julio in and make sure that's a good fit. That's my own personal scenario that would work out for both parties involved.
Shannon, what do you think?
Is Julio worth a first round draft pick?
As
32 years old. He still produces when he's on the field, but key thing being him on the field. He only played 9 games last season. I don't know that you're sending a quarterback who the Packers thought would be good enough to take over for Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers did step away, to send him to a team that is going to need a quarterback in the near future because, Matty Ice is on thin ice as far as his career and whether or not he's entering backup territory. To give them Jordan Love and a first round pick seems like a lot for Julio Jones, even though I know the Falcons are wanting a first round pick for him. I don't know that he's that guy anymore.
The great thing with him going to a destination like Green Bay is that he wouldn't have to be the number one, go out every single play on offense and be that guy. You have Devontae Adams to be that guy. So a little bit of the load would be taken off of his shoulders. You're right. I don't know if he is necessarily first round at his age, but you throw in a first rounder and Jordan Love just because apparently from what I can reading between the lines and not going too in depth into the Packer world. It's not like I'm reading every single update on Jordan Love. My whole thing on the whole Aaron Rodgers thing is if the Packers trusted what they had in Jordan Love already after 1 year of grooming him and trading up into the first round to go get him, if they liked what they saw at this point, they would have already gotten rid of Aaron Rodgers. So the fact that they want to keep Aaron Rodgers right now and not go with Jordan Love tells me Jordan Love is nowhere near where they thought he would be or where they want him to be in terms of being a starter.
Well, and as you say that, Tanner, they would have already gotten rid of Aaron Rodgers. This guy was the MVP last year.
But he has a lot of value still. So you get at his age of 37? How old is it? 37?
I think he's 35. I'll look it up.
35. So with his age, him only having realistically 3-4, we've maybe seen 5 years left in him. He still has that MVP value. You can go
37. You were right. Okay, he's 37.
So he's got 3 years left in him at a high quality level, unless he's going to go Tom Brady mode and just keep playing forever. You still have trade value in the guy. Go ahead and give up go ahead and receive 2-3 first rounders for an MVP guy like Rodgers, and then go with Jordan Love if you have something in Jordan Love. But apparently, from what I can see, just on the outside looking in, they don't have anything in Jordan Love that I don't think that they're completely confident with.
Now, the only team that really matters is the Dallas Cowboys. Yes. So while we talk Julio Jones and Atlanta Falcons and Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay Packers, of course, America's team is the Dallas Cowboys. Shannon proclaimed earlier in the show that now that Dak is back, the Dallas Cowboys will soon be Super Bowl bound. How do you think the Cowboys and how do you think new defensive coordinator Dan Quinn is doing as he assesses this defensive roster? Obviously, he's brought in a couple of guys who he is familiar with that he's worked with in Atlanta. But how do you think this job is going, even though, we just got into OTAs last week?
From what I've seen online and what I've seen and read in other people's articles about Dan Quinn, who are closer with the team and kind of have more of a hands-on situation there, is he's a very in-your-face kind of a coach in terms of he's going to get down in the dirt with the defensive linemen. He's going to line up with the linebackers. He's going to tell them and physically move them where they need to be. And hopefully that more hands-on approach for Dan Quinn will kind of help guys like Jalen Smith. And speaking of June 1st, speaking of Jalen Smith, I would like to see them restructure his deal. Maybe backload a little bit, get it to a point in time where, or maybe even front load it, pay him a little bit more money this year. So whenever you're going into next offseason, you don't owe him as much money if you're planning on moving away from him and cutting him, or if he's not going to make the roster, maybe restructure this deal to where it's not going to hurt you against the cap so much later on. I don't know how teams typically rearrange that kind of thing. But Jerry Jones and his staff, when it comes to financial marketing, they're kings of the world when it comes to that sort of thing. So I'd like to see them, maybe Zeke, we're going to be looking at Zeke's contract. And is he worth what he's getting? Or are you going to want to backload that? Or are you going to want to rearrange some things there We might hear some news in terms of contract talk with the Cowboys within the next couple of weeks.
Well, back to what you just asked, is Zeke worth what he's getting? To me, that answer is a resounding no.
Not from what we saw last year.
Right. You look at how they rolled the Brinks truck up to him and paid him. I think they overpaid him from the get-go.
Yeah.
And you look at last year, and again, you look in general, and last year started with the ridiculous "I'm low-key faded, bro" video. And granted, he was at his computer, and I guess whatever you do,
it was in the off season
on your own time in the off season. But he just seems like a screw up to me, and he doesn't seem. I mean, I even just looking at his demeanor on the sidelines when he's in a Cowboys uniform, he doesn't seem to have that fire that Dak Prescott has.
Yeah.
And all of his fumbles, the one game where he had like 2 fumbles on his first 2 touches.
Yeah.
I just think I think he was a guy who was paid too much too soon, and I don't think he ever had the work ethic that I think is necessary to go to the next level and help a team get to a Super Bowl.
And you see all these videos of him posted online, working out, putting in that work ethic that you're talking about throughout the offseason this year. We've seen it every year with him. Oh, Zeke looks thinner this year. And then throughout the season, somehow he gets larger so he can get thinner again for the offseason. I'm not sure how that all works, what cycle he's going through, what diet he's on. I'm kind of with you. I think he is, in terms of just pure talent, I think he's got all the talent in the world. But the age-old saying is, do you go and pay a running back? Are running backs worth a long-term contract? I think that's what this whole conversation comes down to. Is it seems like every single year in the draft, we've got a new up-and-coming guy, or we've got somebody new that takes over the running back world every 2 to 3 years, and there's not been a repeat leading rusher for however many X amount of years. And so it's just kind of one of those things. Are running backs just worth the value of making them one of the highest paid players on your team with such a short shelf life? And that answer is no, they're not worth it. No running back is.
No.
Derrick Henry is by far and away the best running back in the league right now. And in 2 or 3 years, where do you think he's going to be? He's probably not going to be the leading rusher anymore. He's probably not going to have that much value, especially the way he plays. So it's crazy to think that, but Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey might be irrelevant in 4 years. May not even be talking about.
Yeah. And for all the money you paid Zeke, the 49ers were able to find a guy named Raheem Mostert, who had been cut by 4 teams, and they essentially paid him a bag of Doritos in salary, and he led them to that Super Bowl 2 years ago when they ran the ball quite a bit in the playoffs to get to that Super Bowl. Shannon, how do you feel about Ezekiel Elliott? Do you think he can live up to what is expected of him and all the money that has been paid to him?
I don't know about living up to it. I think maybe getting back to average and holding on to the ball a little bit better than he did last year, because we have to remember his ties to Dak. I mean, we talk about how unhappy Aaron Rodgers is with the decisions that they've made getting rid of his weapons. Zeke is a huge safety net for Dak, for whether it's those little Duncan passes or, handing the ball off. That is his guy both on and off the field. And with all that money you paid Dak, you better make sure he's happy. And if that's keeping Zeke around, we could see him for longer than expected, no matter what his performance is like on the field this next season or 2.
And speaking of contracts, I was reading in depth in terms of what a sports agent and what these guys kind of in their head, basically how you look at any contract. It doesn't matter if it's a 10-year Patrick Mahomes deal or if it's a 3-year, Joe Blow on the Jacksonville Jaguars deal. Every multi-year contract essentially is a 2-year contract. After 2 years, you're going to revisit that contract. The team is probably going to negotiate or restructure, or you're probably liable just to get cut or traded or whatever if you're not living up to that going after your second year of that contract. So look at every contract. Zeke signs a 6-year deal worth however much $1 million and is one of the highest paid running backs going into last offseason. Well, after this year, going into that second deal or that second year of that deal, the Cowboys are likely not even going to have him for that 6th year. You're not going to keep a running back around for all 6 of those years. So everyone that was all, crying and whining. Why would you sign a running back for 6 years? Zeke will not be on this team come that into that contract. He's just not going to be. Either he's going to leave, Dallas will trade him or cut him, or he's just going to be kind of I don't even know what you're just with a running back, you're just not going to have that longevity, especially in a contract that big.
See, yet I wonder, does he fall under the classification of one of Jerry's guys? If Jerry, while I agree with you, yes, everything you say, he should be gone before he gets to year 6.
Yeah.
But if he's one of Jerry's guys, Jerry might keep him around a little longer.
Because we saw the same thing with DeMarco Murray. Everyone's like, oh no, DeMarco Murray's going to the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh no. He's retired. He's out of the NFL.
Huge drop off.
And he's been out of the NFL for 2 years now. That was in 2016. That's not that long ago. You know, so you look at 4 or 5 years and that away from now, you're likely not even going to see the same star running backs that are throughout the entire league right now. We're going to have a completely new group of running backs. So I don't think this whole Zeke thing. You run them dead. You run them as hard as you possibly can while you have them. You let the tread on the tire go, and then you let the player go. And that's what a running back is. And that's typically 4, 5, 6 years in the league. And then they're off doing whatever else they can do to help some other team. Very rarely do you see longevity at the running back position. And then you got a guy like Tony Pollard. I'd love to see Tony Pollard get more touches. It's not like we don't have a bad second option. I'd love to see Tony Pollard with more touches, more carries, more opportunities.
Going to be very interesting. And of course, so much of this for the Cowboys hinges on that offensive line and that offensive line staying healthy this season with guys that typically have gotten so banged up recently.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. I'm glad you bring that up. And I'm going to be really interested to see what the interior of that offensive line is going to look like. We know we have Zach Martin. We know we have Tyron Smith, and we know we have Leo Collins. Connor McGovern really came on strong. You would think the Wisconsin rookie from last year, Tyler Biadasz, he'll step into that starting center role and be that guy.
Yeah. He
already struggled with a little bit of injuries last year, so hopefully that's not a reoccurring issue that we see there. But also Connor Williams, is he going to get any better, or is he just plateaued and being the player that he is currently? He could lose his job. We drafted another, guard center from Nebraska late in the 7th round that I really like, and I've heard good things about in OTA so far. Rookies typically stand out in OTAs, however, a little bit more just because they try harder. They're tryhards in the OTA. Where the veteran guys that know they have a spot on the roster, they're just kind of walking through the motions when they're wearing a jersey and shorts in practice. So typically you hear better things from rookies in OTAs just because they're working harder. But I think that middle of the line, especially health-wise, is going to be a very, very big storyline moving forward in the Dallas Cowboys offseason.
Tanner Carlson is a great follow on Twitter at Tanner Carlson 20. Any tweets of note lately? Have you been attacking Tim Tebow on Twitter?
I'm not attacking anybody anymore.
Okay.
No, if I'm attacking anybody, it's going to be Kristaps Porzingis for the Dallas Mavericks. I'm sick of his play thing. I just don't think that. I appreciate the experiment. I'm glad Cuban went out and tried to get a big marquee name guy to pair with Luka, and they tried it. I think the experiment is done. I don't see that working or getting any better than what it already currently is.
Look for Tanner's live tweets during the Clippers-Mavericks game, which is tomorrow night. That'll be game number 5.
I try to stay away from social media as much as I possibly can when the game is on. I hate doing it, but I just, sometimes you just get so frustrated. It just spews out.
Well, I hope it's a happy night tomorrow night for you and for Shannon
Let's
for the Dallas Mavericks. On Twitter at Tanner Carlson 20. Tanner, thanks so much.
Yep.
Always outstanding. Coming up, our resident golf guru and the voice of UTSA athletics. We will see what is happening in the sports world of Andy Everett. And has he ever hit a hole-in-one? Just had a guy duck his head in the studio earlier this morning. David Munoz, first time in 56 years, he hits a hole-in-one. Talk golf, college sports, and more with Andy Everett next. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo! Beth Settle, I just saw you from earlier. I didn't see you say hi earlier at 7:37. I missed you. Good morning. So I was just thinking, she's usually in here by now. And you were, and I didn't know that. Yeah, he texted me and he said he's good to go. So he'll probably call. I told him to call the hotline, so he should call close to 8:35. Good morning, Tony. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Andy Everett will join us. He's on the phone line. Here we go. Welcome back. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. And we love to check in with our resident golf guru, host of the golf show on Ticket 760 in San Antonio on Saturday mornings at 8. You don't have to be in San Antonio to catch it. You can catch it on the iHeartRadio app. He is also the voice of UTSA Athletics. Mr. Andy Everett, how are you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Great. How are you guys?
I am doing well. And I mentioned the golf show that you host on Saturdays. And when, for any reason, you don't host it, a guy named David Munoz, who works in the building, hosts the golf show. He stuck his head in the studio, Andy, about an hour ago. And he said, for the first time in 56 years, he said, I've been golfing for 56 years. And over the weekend, I hit my first ever hole-in-one, which is amazing, and which made me wonder, what about Andy Everett? Has Andy Everett hit a hole-in-one?
I did it in June of 2018 at La Cantera, but David's got one up on all of us because I think he has a double eagle on the 18th hole at the Bandit.
Wow.
It's been rarer than an ace, so he still has scoreboard.
My goodness. So I got to be, he said he did it for the first time in 56 years. And for you as well, when you do something like that, I mean, what is that feeling? Can you, is it just euphoria? How do you feel when you have a moment like that on the golf course?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, is to not get too high so that you can play the next hole without thinking about what you just did on the previous hole. And that's what makes the pros so good is they can go out there and make a birdie or two in a row or make a hole-in-one or an eagle, and then they go right back and make another one. And for most of us, we start thinking about that, or we start thinking about what our score is going to be, and then the next hole or two or three isn't very good. And I was playing terrible that day. I made my hole-in-one at La Cantera. I think I shot was 3 or 4, something like that, and happened to make the one, and then still didn't play very well the rest of the round. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I didn't see it go in because I just kind of hit the shot and thought that should be pretty good. Then all of a sudden I kind of heard it around, hit the black stick, and then looked up and couldn't see the ball. So I was like, I think I spent an ace. That's the way it went.
Now, and how do you celebrate a moment like that? There was a story a couple weeks ago where a young lady ended up with 2 hole-in-ones on one course. She was gifted, I believe, some gift cards for the course bar. Got a couple gift cards because she got a couple hole-in-ones, and then she ended up using all of those gift cards that evening and bought drinks for everybody. Was Andy in a bar just saying rounds are on me after that hole-in-one?
If I remember correctly, we did go somewhere afterwards, and I tried to pay for drinks, but somebody else just bought them, and I was like, aren't I supposed to do that? And he goes, I'll do it next time. But I don't think there was ever a next time. But typically, the golf course, I know Locketerra did this for me, they'll send you the flag off the flagstick of the hole that you made it because they've got extras. And I don't know if David's done that yet with the quarry, but I'm sure something like that will happen. You can register it with different entities, and depends on, I was playing a Titleist golf ball, so they sent me a little medal that said, congratulations on your hole-in-one and join the hole-in-one club. There are a lot of golf clubs, and I don't know that if you belong to a private club, a lot of people will belong to what they call the hole-in-one club, and they deduct $10 out of your dues each month, or charge you $10, and it goes into a pool. And when somebody makes a hole-in-one, that person gets that much credit in the pro shop or the pool or whatever. I'm not sure how it works because I haven't been a member of a club in 25 years and didn't make a hole-in-one then. But there's all kinds of different ways, and for me, I try not to get too high or too low when I'm playing because that just usually leads to bad things happening on the next hole.
Now, I do have to ask you, you said when you hit the hole-in-one at Locketerra, you otherwise had a bad round, a round you didn't like. You shot an 83. When you were all done, were you bummed out about the overall score, or did you? So so that took precedence over your being euphoric over the hole-in-one.
Yeah, if any day I don't break 80, I consider that a bad day. I don't care unless it's maybe TPC San Antonio, which is one of the 2 hardest golf courses I've ever played. Other than those courses, if I can shoot between 72 and 76, it's a good day. 76 to 80 is an okay day, and over 80, I just wish I had played. That's kind of the method of the madness.
Well, speaking of bad day, Jordan Spieth had one on Sunday after he lost the lead at the Charles Schwab tournament over this weekend. What happened there? Because we're used to seeing him have an early lead, but then he's always been the guy who can hang on. What's happening now down the line for Jordan Spieth?
I think it was just a bad Saturday and Sunday, especially Sunday. And I remember Dottie Pepper making a comment on Sunday afternoon following Jordan's group that Jordan walked by him on 15 or 16 and said, it's really hard to play this game when you have no swing and no idea where the ball's going. And I think that's temporary because he's had a really good year. He won here at the Valero Texas Open, and he's had some. I think it was one of those days where he got something out of sync in his golf swing, and it won't take him long to fix it. I don't know if he's playing this week at the Memorial or not, and then you've got the U.S. Open in 2 weeks. But I wouldn't make a big deal out of it being a long-term thing. But honestly, the 73 he shot on Saturday or Sunday was probably as good as he was going to shoot, playing as poorly as he did. And it's wonder he didn't shoot 77 or 78 because he had no idea where the ball was going. And at Colonial, you can't miss fairways. It's a shorter, tight golf course. You've got to put the ball in play. And Jason Kokrak gave him every opportunity in the world to win that golf tournament until the end. And Jordan just couldn't find a golf swing, and that sometimes happens.
Yeah, you look at Jordan Spieth's rounds before Sunday when he shot the 73. He had a 63, a 66, and a 66. And as you mentioned, he had the lead, and it looked like he was certainly poised going into the final round to win that thing. Does it, when you, is there a risk? You say he'll get over it pretty quickly, Andy, but is there a risk if this happens too often that it starts to get in your head, especially, if you have a lead going into the final round? Is this something that can be a recurring event if it happens too often and it gets into your head?
One of the issues that he had after he won the Open, and he was kind of battling there, kind of made a little bit of a comeback until he finally won in San Antonio, that he would have a good round or two, but not four. And a lot of times it would be the putter. Sometimes it would be an errant drive. But I thought on Sunday he was missing every shot. And you and I would be thrilled with his misses, but he's at another level than most of us combined. And his misses were put in places where he had no chance of having a successful opportunity to make another shot. And here's here's the other thing that gets very frustrating, and I can relate to this as well. When you get in between clubs and you have a number that you don't like the yardage and wind that you don't like where it's coming from, and you have to make a decision on, do I hit a hard 8 or an easy a hard 8 or an easy 7, or do I lay up on this hole? Where do I try to hit it? And you just keep getting these numbers that don't help you, and you're either hitting half shots or you're hitting shots that you're trying to get more out of the club than you should. That's when you leave yourself with 30, 40, 50 footers. And even though Jordan seems to make his share of them, you're not going to make a living making putts from that distance. So I think the other biggest factor on Sunday was he never got really good yardages. And then he tried to push it on a couple holes, got in the rough. It's hard to control your golf ball coming out of the rough. And that's what kind of led to him shooting 3 over.
All right, Andy, last week the match was announced. There's a ton of avenues we can take with this, but first I want to get your initial reaction to the pairings of Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau this July.
It's not Tiger Woods, so about 20% of the people that watched last year won't, maybe or will. So you'll have about an 80% drop off in ratings. Phil is a good draw, but he's not Tiger. And I'm not sure why we have to keep doing this. And I think we've proven in the past when Tiger's not involved, people don't watch as much as when he does. I think Bryson DeChambeau may be able to shed some moments on it because he and Phil, it's going to be interesting on who talks the least because most of them talk just nonstop. And I've never seen Aaron Rodgers have a public personality, so that would be interesting to see to some extent. And Tom Brady didn't say a whole lot last year when he was paired with Bill in the match with Tiger. But it's fun for TV, and they'll keep rolling this out there, and it's good for charity, and it's good for those guys to become public, especially at a time over the last year or so where a lot of people have been trapped inside their homes. So it may be good, but I don't think it'll have near the impact it did without Tiger.
Andy, Shannon brings up Bryson DeChambeau, who is in that match play. Looking back on his ongoing spat with Brooks Koepka, do you think these two guys, does it ever get so contentious between a couple of golfers that it might come to blows between them? How weird could this thing get?
I don't think Bryson DeChambeau wants to get in a fight with Brooks Koepka. While they're both in good shape, Brooks Koepka's bigger and stronger. It all started back a year or so ago when Brooks Koepka said that Bryson DeChambeau is a slow player, and he is. And Bryson DeChambeau can say all day long that he's not. He is a slow player. He takes forever to go through the physics equation in his head before every shot. And that's very frustrating for a player who likes to play quick. I think it's also very frustrating for a guy like Brooks when you get in contention in a tournament. The last group or the last couple of groups are always going to play the slowest because you've got so many people that are allowed to be inside the ropes to take pictures or to comment on the broadcast that you have to get 20, 30, 40 people settled before you can get over get on the tee box and hit your shot. And that doesn't even count the gallery. They're hardly ever settled when those guys are playing. And so a guy that likes to play with pace and tempo and not take a lot of time to get shots, playing against or with someone who's just the opposite, that can drive you crazy. It's easy for a slow player to play with a fast person. It's hard for a fast player to play with a slow player. And all of you that are slow players, you know who you are, or at least you should. But the biggest issue is Bryson could be doing all that high math in his head before he gets the golf ball. And because some psychologist told him to go through a routine, once he got to the ball, he's doing just that. And he takes a little bit longer than everybody else. He is not slow enough to get a slow play penalty, and it's not as slow as some of the players on the tour, but it's still slow compared to Brooks Koepka, and that's where this started. And now they're just kind of going back and forth with social media jabs at one another.
much to our entertainment. Andy Everett hosts the golf show on Ticket 760 in San Antonio on Saturday mornings, 8 o'clock. Again, if you're not in San Antonio, you can get that anywhere on the iHeart Radio app as well. And of course, Andy, the voice of UTSA athletics. You know, we're down into the 90s now before college football season. So we'll be talking a lot of college football with him as we get closer throughout the summer. Andy Everett, always great, sir. Have yourself a great week. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. We'll see y'all.
All right, Andy Everett. All right, Shannon. So we put it to our listeners. What is going to happen to Aaron Rodgers, who you brought up about the match play, and of course, Julio Jones, now that it is June 1st and NFL teams can spread out that salary cap space and maybe some of these deals can happen. What do we have going in the poll voting at this point?
Yeah, a lot of votes coming in too. And don't forget that these will be up on both Twitter pages for the rest of the day. So if you haven't voted yet, get over there. But right now, 34% voting that both guys will be traded. Only 1% saying just Aaron Rodgers, 54% saying only Julio Jones, and 9% saying Jones joins Rodgers in Green Bay.
That
Again,
would...
I think it's the way that everyone ends up happy in the situation.
Yeah. And you know, when we were talking about that earlier, Shannon, we didn't go the direction that Tanner went earlier this hour, which you send Jordan Love in that deal to Atlanta. And it does make sense. There's been a lot of talk about moving on from Matt Ryan. And I loved how you put it. Matty Ice is on thin ice in Atlanta. So, hey, get Jordan Love out the door in Green Bay, make Aaron Rodgers happy, and see if Jordan Love might have a future in Atlanta. I would like to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to get something for him, right? Even if it's not a first round. But him going on air and saying that he's out of there, I think devalued him a little bit, and that can't make Atlanta happy.
Finally, as we go out the door here, Shannon, 3 NBA games tonight, and then the late one, second half of a TNT doubleheader. Lakers, Phoenix Suns. It's at Phoenix. That series is tied 2-2. Who do you like tonight with Anthony Davis probably not playing tonight for the Lakers?
I like Phoenix. I think they have the momentum here after getting that most recent win. Chris Paul is pushing through. He's had enough of the injuries taking him out of the playoffs. They're at home. I got to go Phoenix.
Going to be a big one. Yeah, I'm going to watch that one. I'm going to be up late tonight because Lakers are going to be on the ropes if they lose that one, go down 3-2 in that series. So Boston, Brooklyn, your early game on TNT, on NBA TV tonight, Portland at Denver, and then the late one, LA at Phoenix at 9. Our thanks to Andy Everett. We just heard from him. Tanner Carlson earlier this hour. Brian Gann, the boss man, forced into action to make the show go. Our thanks to Brian. Shannon, great job as always.
You as well, sir. Let's do it again.
21 hours. We'll do it all over again. Keep it right here. Have yourself a great Taco Tuesday. Adios, amigos.